Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dave Smith. I'll be your MC today. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Here's what's happening. I'm going to introduce each inductee and his or her acceptor and a presenter, and they're going to come to the top of the stairs, and they will then proceed to their seats. Okay, so that's what's next. Ladies and gentlemen, inductee Don Berger and his presenter, Phil Chartis. Our next inductee is Jerry Fitzgerald. Accepting for Jerry is his son James and his presenter, Pat Estrella. Please welcome him. Our next inductee is Chris Green. His presenter is Dave Geisler. Our next inductee is Kim Jackal-Nadeau, and she will be presented by Jim Martello. I'd like to welcome Tom Kelleher and his presenter, Tom Dunn. Please welcome our next inductee, Steve Krajewski, and his presenter, Tom Smith. Accepting for John Lusa is his son, John Lusa III, and his presenter will be Bob Weingartner. Accepting for Joe Van Odenhoven is his brother Jesse, and his presenter will be Jim Martello. And please welcome our next inductee, Art Wheelock. His presenters will be his son and daughter, Nick and Andrea. Welcome. And it's great to have you with us for the second induction ceremony of the Rockville High School Hall of Fame. It's great to have you with us this afternoon. Before we get started, I would like to recognize three members of the original class from last year who are here today, Joe Colaci, Tom Dunn, and Jim Martello. So, at this time, I would like to introduce the principal of Rockville High School, Andrew Rocket, for a couple of things he wants to tell us today. Thank you. Andy?
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Welcome, and welcome back to Rockville High School. And it's really that welcome back that has such a high meaning to me personally. First, a thank you to the committee, who has done just a fabulous job in their development of the concept and implementation last year in this. I'm sure you join me in saying, what a beautiful presentation, ceremony, display area. The entire thing is done in such a classy way. It's just wonderful. So please join me in thanking the committee for all their efforts. So I will tell you that one of the great things about this town generally, and about Rockville High School specifically, has to do with what we're doing here today, and that is the sense of tradition. The two organizations of the three that I'm most proud to be part of are the U.S. Navy, in which I spent 28 years, and the Maritime College at Fort Schuyler, where I was a graduate in 1980. Both of those organizations have been around for some time, and both of them have a huge sense of tradition. And when I was in the early stages of my careers in these institutions, I didn't really have a full sense of it. Like many of our kids now, especially the 9th and 10th graders, when they come in, they don't really stop and look at the pictures and look at the things on the wall. Really, they're just concerned with their own place in the world. But as one progresses through one's career, the juniors and seniors, but especially as one is a graduate and one moves on, one begins to appreciate what that history represents. And it's around us more and more. For example, if you go in the library, you'll see the old high school from 1870. Then another mural of the next old high school in 1893. And then the Sykes Building, 1925. And then our current building starting in 1959. And the really, really neat thing about that for me is I'm part of that. And you're part of that. And that sense of history, that sense of tradition, is what binds our young people to the school, starting when they're in their later years and progressing as they go through adulthood. I think it's what binds you to the school. With respect to our inductees today, I am extremely proud just to be here with them. Athletics places, as you know, a unique place in high school. And I have a full appreciation for the fact that there's no natural athletes that, because they're so good, you know, they make all the teams and they get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Maybe there is some element of natural athleticism, but the inductees know more than anyone the tremendous effort, tremendous focus, learning to deal with loss, learning to deal with defeat, and yet getting back up and staying in the game. That's why the inductees made it here today. And of course, that's what we're trying to teach the high school, our young kids. And so it's for that reason that I'm so extremely honored to be with them today. So I hope you join me in recognizing that in our inductees, and like me, just enjoy the sense of history that we're all a part of today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy. And now I would like to introduce Lois Purcell, who's the Director of Athletics. Lois?
On behalf of the Athletic Department at Rockville High School in particular, I also would like to welcome you to today's event honoring some of our former athletes. Athletics play a big part in the fabric of a high school, and our athletes are among the most visible ambassadors for our school throughout our community and throughout the state, probably more than any other group we have in the high school. I am very proud that we are honoring these distinguished athletes from our past, and I hope you will partner with me to celebrate and honor the athletes of our present as we strive to build respectful, competitive teams and athletes. I would like to congratulate all of our inductees, and I want to thank you personally for all of your contributions to Rockville High School athletics.
Thank you, Lois. And now I would like to introduce Scott Smith, who's the chairman of the committee. Scotty?
Thank you, David. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today as we honor and celebrate the history and accomplishments of the Rockville High School Athletics program. Hall of Fame induction is the highest honor an institution can bestow upon any individual, and we are very pleased to be able to add 9 extremely worthy individuals to the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame roster this afternoon. Before we begin our formal program, I feel it is important for everyone to understand the purpose and process that gives direction to the Hall of Fame. As it states in our bylaws, the purpose of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame is to recognize and honor those former athletes, coaches, administrators, and significant supporters that have distinguished themselves through outstanding contributions to the Rockville High School athletic program. With that purpose in mind, a large list of names is generated from research and nominations by former coaches, athletes, family members, media members, and the general public. All these names are discussed in meetings and researched further over the course of the year. These discussions center around the career accomplishments and accolades of these individuals while they participated in or supported the athletics program here at Rockville High School. Accomplishments and honors achieved by these individuals after leaving RHS are also taken into account, but they are not the defining factors for whether or not that individual's name moves forward in the process. Based on research and these discussions, a list of nominees are chosen to appear on a final ballot. At a formal voting meeting, a nominee must receive 80% of the committee's votes to gain induction into the Hall of Fame. Those that do not receive 80% of the vote will stay on the final ballot for up to 3 additional years. After the induction class is selected, final research and information gathering occurs to prepare for the induction ceremony. This entire process will repeat itself for the next induction cycle. If you have any interest in getting involved with the RHS Hall of Fame Committee, or you would like more information about our process, please be sure to pick up one of the forms on the will call table in the lobby. There are also nomination forms available on that table as well. We are also excited to say that our Hall of Fame's permanent display is taking shape in the lobby area outside of the gymnasium. Individual picture plaques representing our inaugural class of inductees are up, and a large version of our Hall of Fame logo is in place. Raised lettering, trim painting on our display wall, and plaque hanging for this year's induction class will be accomplished within the next month or so. Hopefully the display will be a reminder of the history and tradition of Rockville athletics and help to inspire the athletes of today to one day have their own plaque hanging on that wall. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us and for your ongoing support of Rockville athletics and the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Smitty. Very nicely done. To our inductees this afternoon, you deserve our praise and congratulations. It's been a long time coming, but at last you get to be recognized for your accomplishments. As you recall those glory days, you get a sense of history and tradition, and our establishing a Hall of Fame gives life to those traditions here at Rockville High School, and we thank you for that. As you recall those glory days, please understand our appreciation for what you did. You have earned a sense of pride born of real accomplishments. You have earned a place on our Mount Olympus. To the athletes, in those days you didn't know what you didn't know. But in the intervening years, it's clear that you have taken what sports did for you then and have learned and grown and are now the result of the best that sports can do for us. You have given back to your communities and your institutions. You have raised families, and you have become better people for it. And we thank you for that. To the coaches, you were inducted not just because of one-loss records, but because your community knows that you nurtured the good and the talent that was in each of your athletes. And you had the touch and the talent to bring out the best of them. You brought to them things about life that could not be conveyed in a clean, well-lighted classroom. And you sit here knowing they will never forget what you did for them. That's why coaches affect eternity, because they can never really, no one really ever knows where their influence stops. To all inductees, it's not easy to get to perform at the highest level, to get to Mount Olympus, but the fire that burned in you then is rekindled and recognized today. In that spirit, you will join your esteemed colleagues to expand your exclusive club. Congratulations, you are now a part of forever, and we thank you for all of that. So let's get started. I will call at first Don Berger and his presenter to the stage, please. To present Don this afternoon, I'd like to introduce Phil Chartis, longtime reporter for the Journal-Inquirer, and with whom Don has had a long and close relationship. While at Rockville High School, Don played point guard for the basketball team and was a leading scorer on his soccer team. He went to UConn and was a member of its national championship team in 1948. So not only was he an outstanding athlete for the Rams, since then he has devoted himself to making many contributions to the life of athletics here in town. Too numerous to mention, we have a scholarship named for his family. He organized and was first president of the Rockville Little League, and that led to his role as regional and ultimately national leadership positions. He organized a girls' softball and a girls' basketball program. He served Vernon as its director of Parks and Rec for nearly 2 decades. He was the youngest recipient of the Vernon Citizen of the Year Award in 1960 at age 32, and he has been awarded many other honors, both locally and statewide. A 1946 graduate of Rockville High School. And now, Phil.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and please allow me to congratulate all of today's inductees as they enter the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. You know, when they told me I had 3 minutes to present Don Berger as a Hall of Fame inductee, I thought 3 minutes to talk about Don Berger? I can't even name all Don's kids in 3 minutes. So let's get going. When I first started as a sports writer at the Journal-Enquirer about 100 years ago, our main focus, of course, was local sports. And I remember Randy Smith, the sports editor, gave me lists of people to get to know. There's like 6 or 7 people in South Windsor with different jobs, and 6 or 7 at Enfield, 4 or 5 in Ellington and East Windsor, Stafford, Somers. What about Vernon? I said to Randy, since it was our largest circulation area. And Randy said, Vernon, just call Don Berger. And it was true. If there was anything we ever needed to know about sports and the athletes who played them at Rockville High or anywhere else in Vernon, we'd dial Don's number, and unfailingly, he would either have the information or know where we could get it. I had known of Mr. Berger, of course, from Rockville Little League, but when I got to know him through the JI, a 40-year friendship was started, and I'm proud to say goes on today. Now, I know this induction into the Rockville High Hall of Fame is supposed to include athletic careers at Rockville High, and Don certainly qualifies. He played 4 years of soccer, 4 years of basketball at Rockville, from 42 to 46, mostly under legendary coach Frank Geisler. Did he average 25 points a game? I'm not sure the team averaged 25 points a game in the 1940s. Don wasn't the leading scorer. He was the guy who was stopping the other team's leading scorer. Soccer, though, he was an excellent player. He was the leading scorer there. And while he was respected enough to be a team captain in both soccer and basketball in Rockville, he even managed the Rockville High baseball team for a couple of years. How good a player was he? Good enough to go on and play soccer at UConn, and as was mentioned, helped win a national championship in 1948. But I'm here to tell you that it was after his playing days that Don became a real Rockville Hall of Famer. It would be impossible for me to tell you about all the things Don Berger has done for kids in this town in 3 minutes or 300 minutes. But here are just a few of the highlights. He started the Rockville Little League in 1950, was the league's first president, and went on to represent Rockville in the as a District 8 administrator for 20 years, then was elected to the National Little League Board of Directors. He started town basketball programs for boys and girls of every age, including travel teams, all as a volunteer, which means for no pay, in case you weren't listening, just because he thought the town's children needed it. Don got the ball rolling to start the Vernon Youth Hockey League. He gave swimming lessons and coached the town's swim team. He managed the American Legion baseball team. He even covered Rockville High sports for the Old Manchester Herald because he didn't think the Rams were getting any recognition. And we all know how he served the town as Recreation Director and on the Recreation Commission before it became a paid position. I could go on and on, but I know my time is running out. Don Berger has been honored many times over the years. The Rockville Rotary Club Citizen of the Year in 1960. He was awarded a JC's International Senatorship in 1978 and a Good Sport Award from the Connecticut Sports Writers Alliance in 1998. Given a place of honor in the Rockville High Wall of Honor in 2001. And he deserved today's honor as much as any of them, maybe more. Because Rockville is a small town, and its town athletics are intertwined with the high school athletics. They have to be. They mostly involve the same people. Not only was Don Berger an outstanding high school athlete himself, but for many, many years, there wasn't an athlete at Rockville High School, including most of those who are in the Hall of Fame or going into the Rockville High Hall of Fame, who wasn't helped along the way by Don Berger and the programs he started. So on behalf of hundreds and hundreds of grateful young athletes from Rockville and Vernon, thank you Patty and Greg and Beverly, Donnie and Brian, and Timmy, Bobby, Barbara and Maureen for sharing your father. It is now my pleasure to present Don Berger for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
I probably should just say thank you, and I think Phil covered it excellently. I want to be clear about one thing. I stand here in complete, complete awe of the other inductees that have made tremendous contributions to Rockville athletics. I never scored 49 points in a game. I might have taken half a year to get 49. I never struck out 19 batters. I never, obviously, never played in the NFL. But I had another approach that I think meant something. My induction is based not on game statistics, but on contributions that I have made to the RHS over these many years. Phil and Dave covered it all quite well. My mission with the Parks and Rec and senior citizens was, but Parks and Recs particularly, was to provide a feeder system to make the high school athletics more successful. And I think we had some great teams back then. I tried to get the best coaches and provide the programs, and you know, starting with Little League back in 1950, and with the midget basketball for boys and girls. I understand that there isn't a league. They have a travel team, but they don't have a league for girls softball or girls basketball anymore. I have many people to thank for providing me with the foundation that has enabled me to get all these good things that have happened to me. Let me start first with my parents, and especially my father. My father was not an athlete, but he had a keen interest in athletics and in the community. He was mayor for 4 consecutive years back in the late 40s and 50s. And matter of fact, not many people know this, but the beginnings of the recreation facilities as we know them today happened during his tenure. I can remember standing on the top of Fox Hill with Frank Geisler, my father, and Archie Allen. Not many people will probably remember that name, but he was the storied baseball coach at Springfield College, and he was looking and saying, well, you know, it could be this there, and, you know, tennis courts over here, and so that's how it got started, and I'm indebted to him for that. Another one that had a profound influence was Frank Geisler. I have to say, David knows this, that he wasn't my favorite person sometimes when I was coaching, when he was coaching me. He had more spies, he knew everything I was doing and I should be doing. But the important thing is I respected him. greatly respected him. And I'm not sure that it's as prevalent today as it was back then, you know. But matter of fact, 10 or 15 years ago, I organized a reunion testimonial for Frank, and we had 60 former athletes come back, some from Texas, some from Florida, and he told me a number of times that how that was one of the highlights of his career here at Rockville High School. I used to go visit him in the nursing home. One day he didn't know who I was. They started talking about me, and I was sitting there like, "Let's talk about me. What am I doing now?" Anyway, I was honored to be one of 3 former players as a pallbearer at his funeral. Another individual that I should sing about, and never thought I would, and this is just an aside, kids bear with me on this, I had more coaching on my 5 minutes than you can imagine. Matter of fact, I don't know whether Greg's got to watch that he shakes or not. Have you got that yet? Where's Berger? Can't see out there. Anyway, one of the defining moments in my life was I had just finished my freshman year at UConn. And there was a fellow here in town that when you're involved as much, you do have a nemesis here and there, and he was one of them. He accused me one time, many times, of stealing the Little League from him. And nothing was further from the truth. When we started the Little League, it started in 1939 in Williamsport, and then in 49, they were trying to move into Connecticut. So they sent notices out to people involved in athletics, or leaders of the town. And of course, my father got one and showed it to me, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think it's got possibilities." And so, anyway, I never stole it from him. You know, he could never have done what it turned out to be. But after my freshman year, I ran into him, and he said to me, "I wonder if you'd like to go to aquatic school." I didn't even know what aquatic school was. And anyway, long story short, I went to aquatic school. Keep in mind that I'm 18 years old, and at 13, I never swam a stroke. I was scared stiff of the water. My mother was a kind of a swimmer, and we used to go on vacation. She chased me up and down the beach to try to get me to go in the water, but I couldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. I finally, at 13, with the aid of an inner tube, which is not the way to do it, I learned how to swim. And here I am at 18, never having taken a swimming lesson, never taken junior life saving, never taken senior life saving, learning to be a swimming instructor. But I made it, and it turned out to be a defining moment for me in that people would always say, "Don, you should be a teacher. You have such patience." Now, little they know that my patience came from fear. That 5 years earlier, I was scared stiff of the water, but I had the greatest patience with the people that, and as a result, taught hundreds of kids how to swim. I taught privately, and I had an arrangement. If they didn't learn, they didn't owe me anything. That's how confident I was that I could do it. With all of the nice things that have happened to me, this might get a little difficult for me, but my proudest accomplishment, truthfully, is my family. And I'm sure that I think everybody feels that way about their kids, you know, they're the best and so forth. But cut me a little slack here, because this was not a 1, 2, 3 family, kid family. This was 9 kids. And they were just the best, and they still are today. And I know that I haven't said it to them anywhere near as often as I should, how much I love each of them. And the grandkids as well. I have 21 grandchildren. One of them is a homemaker, another one is hopefully making a career in music, and the other 19 have all graduated from college and are in college, and that means a lot. So some of them have been in education. I taught school for 20 years. It means a lot, and it's a tribute to them and to their parents as well. One thing that stands out, and those of you who know my kids, is how respectful they are. I've had that said to me numerous times, and you know, hopefully I contributed a little along the way. I know there were some tough times, you know, my kids. I remember when I started teaching, I took a $1,200 cut in pay. I was a life underwriter trainee in the Travelers, but I had this thing that I thought I should go into teaching, and so I took a $1,200 cut in pay. So I had all kinds of jobs offered to me because, you know, if you're willing to make that kind of a commitment, you know, you gotta be serious about what you're planning to do. Now, we weren't poor, but we just didn't have any money. That's all it was. You know, it was tough. They used to tell all kinds of stories about me hiding donuts there in the morning and all kinds of, you know. But they're just the greatest kids that anyone could ask for. They're each other's best friends. That's the thing. You know, the sisters get together a couple times a year, go to Lake George or someplace. The boys play golf, they go to Myrtle Beach, they go to Ireland. Matter of fact, I understand they're going to Scotland next May to play golf. You know, so it's just, this is the sort of the icing on the cake today, and I appreciate the committee voting me in. Because I say I don't fit the mold of the all-star athlete. I played and whatever, but my contributions were elsewhere. But I want to thank the committee for putting me in, and I'm done.
Thank you, Don and Phil. Our next inductee is Jerry Fitzgerald, and his presenter is Pat Mistretta, so please come on up, please. Thank you. To present Jerry this afternoon, and accepting Jerry's plaque is his son James. To present Jerry this afternoon is Pat Mistretta, a close friend who coached with Jerry, and who Jerry considered a colleague. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Mistretta. Thank you. Our next inductee, Jerry Fitzgerald, actually began his football coaching career in New Britain, but Rockville was lucky he moved here in 1964. He began teaching at the high school, but right away he was driven to get football going again at Rockville High School. And he became the single driving influence to make football a major sport as the leaves turn here in the fall. At first, the football program operated at the intramural level, then moved to JV, and ultimately to varsity status. Although their record in those early days was not so great, Jerry was motivated to recruit talent and improve football at Rockville High School. Obviously, he did. And draw talent, he was among the best. His personality, preparation, attention to detail, dedication, and force of will attracted enough talent to compile a 38-25-2 record in 7 seasons. After he retired from coaching, he went on to become assistant principal and then principal at Rockville High School, retiring in 1992. And that senior class asked him to give their commencement address testimony to his leadership.
Kudos to the Rockville High Hall of Fame Committee. You're doing a great service by preserving RHS athletic history. I'm here to speak about inductee Jerry Fitzgerald, or more lovingly known as Fitz. I initially met Fitz as a 22-year-old after being hired by the Vernon Board of Ed to teach history and coach JV basketball. Ray Ramsdell, the superintendent who hired me, saw that I played college football on my resume and said they were starting a brand new football program after a 20-year hiatus, and asked if I'd be considered a non-paid assistant coach. I was reluctant, but agreed. And I can tell you what transpired was a fantastic ride and life experience. Fitz turned into a role model for me, the other coaches, and the players. There's no doubt who he was and what he stood for, which included he always did what he thought was the right thing. He never took a shortcut. He was the hardest worker among a group of hard workers, the first to arrive and the last to leave. He was totally organized, knew his football, understood high school age kids, and checked everything at least once. He was a great motivator and leader, and totally committed to putting RHS football to the top of Connecticut high school football. These traits sound like a micromanaging, fanatical football coach. He was. We all had a little of that in us. However, he had a much softer side, which included, he was a good listener, he was fair-minded, he was all-inclusive and knew every player, coach, manager, trainer, etc. I can tell you, we all knew our role. He was also great fun, could tell and take a joke, had a ready smile and a glint in his eye. He took the players, the coaches, and this community on a nostalgic journey that's absolutely unforgettable. In short, it went like this. In the fall of '65, the program was established. We had all freshmen and sophomores. We didn't play a game. We practiced for 2 months. The second year we played a total JV season. We won every game, most by large scores. Year 3, we became a full-fledged member of the CVC, one of the best high school conferences in central Connecticut. I believe we lost our first 7 games and tied the last one against Newington High School. We were a little shell-shocked, to say the least. But we knew we were doing the right things and changes were coming. They did. The next year, we finished with a 5-game winning streak. Among them were undefeated Manchester High School, highly state-ranked Southington High School, and in our final game, we prevented Windsor High School. They were undefeated from having an undefeated season. We beat them. The next year, our 3rd year of varsity football, we arrived. Fans started to come out. Not 1 in 2,000, but 3, 4, and 5 for big games. We had over 100 uniformed players. We were ranked high by the state and the media across the state. We won our first 8 games. In our final game against Windsor, again who was undefeated, we lost 35-34 after being down 35-0 at halftime. We were down. It was a great game. Rockville football had arrived. At this point, I left to be an AD at MCC. Rockville High, continued their dominance under Fitz for 4 more years. They mentioned his record, 38-25-2, 2 CVC championships. I don't think that's too bad after 0-7-1 start. But more importantly, he impacted many people's lives and made football a really important event here. On a personal note, he was my golf partner for 40 years. He's here today, him, and former Rockville High assistant principal Mike Blake had a long relationship. I can't tell you the number of times we laughed so hard we cried. We had continuance, disagreements, debates, and threw around Jockish Junior High School comments at each other. It was special. Why do I say it was special? Because it was respect and love based. Jerry's being inducted as a coach, and I think that's a great thing. I think this is one thing we'd like me to clarify before I close, by the committee, and well-deserved. However, I think he'd like everyone to know he's an exceptional athlete. And I have a funny story that depicts his athleticism and tell you a little bit more about him. If you've ever been in coaches' rooms after practice, especially football, there's a lot of male testosterone in the air. Who did what, when, and where. And at one of these particular meetings, Fitz comes out with, when I was at BU, I outgained Jimmy Brown. And I can tell you that raised some eyebrows, because Fitz wasn't really known to embellish his things. He usually had the facts right. And the facts in this case were Fitz 101, Jim Brown 90. And you gotta remember, this was the late 60s, and you just couldn't Google it. So one of our assistant coaches, Roger Gesse, called the sports information at Syracuse. And next meeting, similar circumstance, everybody's attention. Roger says, Fitz, you know what? You were right. You did outgame Jimmy Brown. And you were right. You had 101 and he had 90. But you left out some information. 1, the final score, Syracuse 65, BU nothing. 2, Jim Brown left the game after the first quarter with 3 TDs and did not return. And you played every play on offense at running back. So we all had a laugh at that, including Fitz. I know, again, let me just conclude by saying, this is a great event. All right, it should be real cool. I've been to a few of these, and I can tell you this is really on the right track. Fitz would have loved to be here with joy in his heart and a smile on his face, seeing many of his former players and friends. It's now my pleasure to introduce inductee for the induction of Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame, his son.
First, I'd like to start out by thanking the Rockville High School Induction Committee. My brother Frank, my sister Ann, and I really appreciate what you've been doing organizing this event, and I'm going to have to get my reading glasses. Your dedication, hard work, and thoughtful attention to detail, it really shows. Growing up in our family, we really look forward to our vacations. Whether admiring a view, or eating at a nice restaurant, or sitting on the beach, every once in a while, Dad would say, I wonder what the losing coaches are doing. And we would roll our eyes or, make a wisecrack. give him a hard time. But it was his way of saying he was enjoying himself. And he deserved to enjoy himself. He worked hard for it. His success, he'd be the first to point out that head coach is only as good as the assistant coaches. And he had some great assistant coaches. A head coach only orchestrates while the assistant coaches do all the real work. Some of his assistant coaches were Ralph McCarroll, who became the longtime head coach at South Windsor High School. He was recently inducted to the South Windsor High School Hall of Fame. Ron Knoyer, who went on to become the head coach at Manchester High School. Tom Allen, who became the Tolland head coach. Mike Simmons, who was the successor of Jerry and took over the reins here at Rockville High School. Pat Mistretta, who was the athletic director at Manchester Community College for 25 years. He pretty much founded athletics at MCC and made it the envy of all the other community colleges in New England. So it's a little doubt with assistant coaches like that, how Jerry was, there was no doubt that he was going to be successful. As a coach, Jerry felt it was important to instill trust, honor, integrity, and teamwork as values in his players. But first and foremost, he was an educator. He realized that an entire high school coach's career, you might have a handful of students, athletes that would go on to the next level and be successful in college. But out of those college athletes, if you were lucky, you might have one to play on the professional level. So he knew that student athlete really meant education came first. You had to first perform in the classroom before you could perform on the football field. It was a privilege to put on that uniform, but it was a privilege you had to earn. It's why he stayed in education as a teacher, a vice principal, and a principal after retiring from being a coach. He was in education for 35 years, 7 at New Britain and 28 at Rockville. As we were preparing for today and digging through memorabilia, we found that our mom did a great job clipping newspaper articles. There were so many articles on Rockville's success. They were all good articles. There wasn't a single bad article to be found. So who knows, maybe they didn't write negative articles back then. Anyway, out of all the articles, there was one that jumped out at me, and it was written by a Journal-Enquirer sports writer named Gordon Smith. The title is, "Fitz Won't Hit a Man, Went Down," and I'd like to read some of the highlights from it. Southington football coach Dom D'Angelo walked slowly to the center of the field. He extended his hand for a traditional shake with the winner. "Jerry, I'm sorry we couldn't give you a game, but thanks for letting us score anyway." Another example, as the article goes on, Plainville's Jim Lynch has to say, "He was a fantastic coach and a better person, if that's possible. He beats you with what he has, even if he has less talent than you have." Windsor coach Bill Lazinski said after this year's game, when he asked what player impressed him the most, he said, "The person who impressed me the most wasn't the player, it was Jerry. I knew exactly what he was going to do. Exactly. I worked on it all week. What do? He beats you with surprise plays. The man isn't human." Glastonbury coach Ray Nicoletta said, "Fitzgerald will never lose to you if he has a better team, and he won't lose to you very often, even if you have a better team. But he'll never score 60 points against you, no matter how good his team is. That's the kind of guy he is." And then gets into quoting Jerry. "If that's what we have to do to get a state ranking, then the heck with it. Sure, you could have scored 100 points last year against Woodrow Wilson and some other teams, and against this year against Bloomfield. We probably could have come darn close today, too. But what would it prove? Sure, I'd like to see the defense get a shutout this year, just like they want. But I'm not going to leave them in for an entire game to humiliate another group of kids. Probably just as nice as my boys are. So he was a class act. He wasn't only looking out for his own players on the field, he was looking out for all the players on the field. So what are the losing coaches doing? I never knew that answer. But if you're like me, you like to believe that there's one winning coach whose presence is here today. And he'd be feeling awfully humbled and honored to be here. But more than humbled and honored, he'd be touched. Touched that all his friends and family are here remembering him today. So keep telling those Jerry stories. We all love to hear Jerry stories. But keep his memory close to your heart. And that way he'll always be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. And Pat, thank you very much. Our next inductee is Chris Green. Will be presented by Dave Geisler. So, gentlemen, please come up on stage. In the days when Chris was a student at RHS, it was hard to imagine his going home right after school. No chance. Chris played 12 seasons of athletics in high school and played them as well as anybody in his era. Soccer, basketball, and baseball. During his basketball and baseball seasons, he was in pretty good company. RHS Hall of Famer Harry Garrity coached him in basketball, and an inductee today, Art Wheelock, coached him in baseball. A three-time captain, and most of the time starter, Chris's stats are impressive, especially during his senior year and during the many playoffs he led his teams to. His soccer stats are most impressive, but anybody would like to have his stats in basketball and baseball. He always rose to meet his competition, especially one-on-one, and especially future Hall of Famer, or All-Star, Michael Adams. Then he took what he learned at RHS to an excellent soccer career at Southern, and so now I'd like to present his presenter, former basketball coach and a retired teacher from RHS, Mr. Dave Geisler. Dave?
I'd like to start out with the opportunity to thank Scott and Bob and the committee for doing such an excellent job in this year's selection. It is my honor and privilege to present Chris Green as a nominee, an inductee for the Rockville High School Hall of Fame. Having coached Chris in basketball, following his career in soccer and baseball, there isn't any more person deserving of this honor than Chris. In soccer at Rockville High School, Chris had an outstanding career under Coach Simon, scoring over 30 goals on the varsity level. He was chosen to be a member of the JI All-Area team, and in his senior year, he also was selected as an All-State soccer player. After high school, Chris went off to Southern Connecticut State University, which is a national power in soccer, and he also excelled at Southern, playing in several Final Four national title games, and in his senior year, being selected captain of that team. He also, his senior year, was selected as an honorary member to the New England Hall of Fame. Whoops, let me try that one again. As a member of the New England soccer team, all New England soccer team. In basketball at Rockville High, Chris played point guard, and in his senior year, he was the captain of a very good team that won 17-3. Chris willingly sacrificed personal scoring for the good of the team. Using his quickness and his court savvy, to get the ball to key players at crucial times. He was presented with a Coach's Award at the end of the year for selflessness, work ethic, and leadership. In my first year of varsity coach, it was due to Chris and the other ball players that made the season so much fun, satisfying, and successful. A parent came up to me toward the end of the year and said to me, "How do you sit on the bench so calmly during these exciting games?" And I laughed and I said, "Do you see who's playing point guard?" That was the last time a parent ever came up and told me that in the successive seasons, however. In my 40 years of involvement in basketball at Rockville High School, 13 as a coach and others as a casual observer, I feel that Chris was the best person to play point guard that I had seen. He was too fast to press, he knew where and when to pass the ball, and defenders couldn't stay with him throughout the ball game because of his excellent conditioning. Following basketball, Chris went into baseball and played center field for Coach Art Wheelock. This was also an excellent team. In Chris's senior year, they went to the state finals and lost in the bottom half of the last inning on a very questionable call. Chris wound up batting third with a hitting average of .350, which was highest on the team. During the tournament, Chris raised his average to .360, which exemplifies who Chris is. As the competition increased, Chris got better. Talking with Chris a few weeks ago, his final statement as we parted was, "Coach, I love to compete." This is why Chris is such a special athlete. As extensive and impressive as his basketball, baseball, and soccer skills are, what impresses me most is Chris as a person. In our conversation when we were trying to discuss what was going to go on today, he wanted to spend more time talking about his family, his wife Jackie, and his children, where they are in life, and how proud he is of them, rather than spending time discussing his own accomplishments, which I needed. The whole world, I believe, would be a much, much better place if we had more sons, husbands, fathers, and friends like Chris Green. It is my pleasure to present Chris Green for induction into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame.
First, I'd like to start off by congratulating all the other inductees in the class of 2014. I feel very privileged and honored to be with such an elite group of great athletes and great people. I'd also like to thank the committee. Over the years, I'd look in the paper. I've lived in Vernon all my life, and you'd see Manchester Hall of Fame, Newington Hall of Fame, Weathersfield Hall of Fame. And I was always saying, when's Rockville going to have a Hall of Fame? We've had some great athletes from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way through. I just wondering when it's going to happen. So thank you very much for putting your time and effort in putting this together. I think it means a lot to not only the class of 2014 and myself, but to a lot of people who are out here and to a lot of people in the community. So thank you very much for that. I graduated in 1981, played soccer, basketball, and baseball, and did well, but I wouldn't be able to succeed like I did without a lot of help. And it started with the coaches. We've had Jim Booth, Tom Allen, and Jim Martello back at the middle school, who did an excellent job, great coaches, great teachers, and we moved on to Chuck Simon, Coach Dave Geisler, and Art Wheelock. Again, 3 excellent coaches that taught us more than just how to play the game, but how to go about your life and how to treat others and how to really work hard. Along with that, I had some special teammates that would push me to be the best I could be, and hopefully I pushed them to be the best that they could be. And quite a few were here today. I'm really honored that half dozen, 10 of my good friends that in school 30 years ago are here to support me. And I think that's a tribute to Rockville High Sports and all that goes on here. And I just want to thank everyone for being here, and I'm really honored to be part of the class of 2014. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Dave? please come up to the stage with your presenter, Mr. Jim Martell. In her high school career, Kim earned 8 varsity letters between soccer and basketball, and earned all-state honors in basketball at the end of her senior season, which was coached, by the way, RHS Hall of Famer Jim Martello. While an excellent soccer player, mainly on defense, don't try to get the ball past her, don't try to score on her. A two-time all-conference player, she achieved all academic honors during all 4 years of basketball. That's the focus here. 4-year starter at the point, and fans of RHS basketball could rely on her leading the team in important stat categories by the end of each season. During her season, she led RHS to 16 wins, most wins in a season in its history. The CCC East coaches picked her for all-conference all 4 years. A fierce competitor in both sports. And to complete the summary, Kim is the all-time leading scorer, boy or girl, in Rockville history. So, when you recall her basketball career, remember this, 1,504 points. And now I'd like to turn the mic over to Jim Martello, the presenter. Jim.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to add my congratulations to the group of inductees this year. It's my pleasure to be presenting Kim today. I first became aware of Kim Jacklow as a basketball player when she was in middle school. When Kim came to RHS girls basketball program, we had been successful. I've been coaching for 20 years. We had great players and great teams. And we were looking forward to the arrival of another good young player. Little did I know how good she was going to be. Her passion for excellence in school and in sports led her to the honor roll consistently, the all-academic teams in soccer and in basketball, and all-conference teams, both here and at Southern Connecticut State University. You've heard the accomplishments, you read the accomplishments in the program, you saw the table up front, I hope you spoke to her today. That drive and commitment, coupled with her skills on the basketball court, produced certainly the best guard and arguably the best player the Rockville High School girls basketball program has ever seen. Kim has been awarded almost every prize that a high school player can achieve. She's an all-stater, a career scoring leader with 1,504 points, a 2-year captain, and the RHS Female Athlete of the Year her senior year. Those were all days and times of pride, like today. I'm sure if you spoke to her this afternoon, you'll find her proud, but a little bit uncomfortable to be in the spotlight. It's funny, one person when we came here for the walkthrough looked up and looked like this and said to me, "Is this the way the light's going to be?" And it fit right here. I couldn't believe it. Because as a player, it was never about Kim. It was never about the spotlight for Kim. It was about winning. She wanted to win. But the spotlight came to her because of her skill and that passion to win. And it comes to her today because that attitude has helped her accomplish so much. As you can tell, I'm extremely proud to be presenting her today. She's a very impressive young woman, educated with multiple degrees in a profession where she can influence young people with her counsel and her coaching. I consider myself very fortunate that your playing years at RHS happened while I was coaching here. So, it is a great pleasure to proudly present Kimberly Jacklow for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Please bear with me, I'm a little nervous. I'm shaking. I first, thank you so much. This is truly an honor to be up here today, accepting my induction to the Rockville High School's Hall of Fame. To start off, I would like to thank the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee for their hard work and dedication to put such an amazing event on today. Personally, I would also like to congratulate all the other inductees, especially Mr. Wheelock. And I promise I can't call you Art, and I never will. You'll always be Mr. Wheelock to me. It's special to be inducted with you, alongside with you, throughout my entire life. I've looked up to you as a role model and like a second father. And I knew I wasn't going to cry, but it's me. I knew then, and I still know now, you'll always be there for me and my family, so I thank you. To all the other inductees, it is also a privilege to be standing up here today with you, and I'm proud to be sharing this special day as we look back on how RHS has impacted our lives throughout the years. When looking back on my own high school years, athletics, soccer and basketball were always a part of who I was and what I did. Growing up, sports were activities I loved to do, and and I never knew how much sports, especially basketball, would impact my life. It opened the doors to so many opportunities, and I am truly blessed RHS was where it all started. I owe my successes in life to the love and drive that I had for sports. They are important to me still to this day, that I now take my love for them in a different light. Like Coach Martello said, I'm coaching rather than playing for middle schoolers. It means so much to me to help lead and teach my middle school students the passion and dedication I have for sports and show them how they can change their lives for the better. This reminds me of an article I read a couple days ago. It stated 15 reasons why sports matter and why they're important. And there was one that stood out to me, and it was sports matter because of opportunities. They warrant the opportunity. I have to believe that because I am living that today. Basketball gave me the opportunity to become a better person. My ability to play allowed me to experience life and give back to my students on a daily basis, and for that I'm beyond gracious. In closing, I would also like to say thank you to a select few people that are here today, that have inspired me since I stepped foot on this earth. Coach Martello, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know our relationship throughout the 4 years was a rocky one. I'm sure you've all heard. But today I stand up here with you as a friend. And thanks for sponsoring me and letting me relive my 4 years in Rockville and basketball with you these last couple of months. It's been great. Coach Argenta, thank you for your kind and supportive words throughout those years. You always were a shoulder to lean on, and I appreciate that. And lastly, to my family. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be standing up here today. Us Jackals are a small, close-knit group, and for that, I'm proud. Even though I'm no longer a Jackal, I'm now a native. To my dad, thanks for always having my back and calming me down when my temper would get the best of me, and I know I kept you busy with that one. To my brother Chris, AKA the kid who received more gripe when the paper stated I would always beat you one-on-one. I will set this record straight. It was in the game of horse, not one-on-one. But seriously, thank you for being the best big bro a sister could ask for. If it wasn't for you pushing me and helping me to get better, I probably wouldn't be up here today. Thank you for the late night chats while shooting hoops and pregame pep talks on working hard and staying positive. You have taught me more than you'll ever know about the game of basketball, but more importantly, the game of life. I can't wait to see you be a father. You're going to be a great father. To my mom, I'll try to get through this. You are my rock, the person I aspire to be. When looking back, high school was rough for you and I. I seriously cannot thank you enough for all that you did and still do. You never, and I mean never, missed a game. Not even soccer. You are my #1 fan, and I will always spend the rest of my life following in your footsteps with my son. You should be standing up here alongside me, accepting this honor. I owe it all to you. And to my husband Keith, who's never seen me play, ever. Still think he doesn't think I can. But I bet you know now I can still beat you. I thank you for loving me, loving our family, and our son, Griffin. I do the love for sports is something we both share, and I'm excited about our future together. In closing, Rockville High School gave me the opportunities I will forever be grateful for. I appreciate everyone's time, and thank you again for awarding me with this once-in-a-lifetime honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim and Jim. The next inductee, Tom Kelleher, and his presenter, Tom Dunn. Gentlemen, please come on up. How many football players can say they scored a touchdown in every game they played except one game? Well, our next inductee can make that statement. One of the most talented ball players to ever come out of Rockville High School, and he's here today. Tom Kelleher was recognized by anybody who ever watched him run with the ball as the best. During his senior year, he accumulated an outstanding collection of statistics, 17 touchdowns, 106 points, and maybe most notably 1,231 yards rushing in 10 games. How about these? Honorable mention, All-American, All-State, All-Area, All-CVC, you know, all everything, and a scholar athlete on top of everything else. He was a member of RHS Hall of Famer Tom Dunn's first graduating class, and he was in the National Honor Society during his last 2 years here. And now to a great career at Holy Cross. Ultimately, he was drafted by the Dolphins, but an injury forced his retirement from the game he loved and he was so good at. So now I'm proud to introduce Tom Dunn, who will present Tom Kelleher.
Good running back needs 3 qualities. Number 1, ball protection. Number 2, second effort. And number 3, toughness. Ball protection, because no running back, I don't care how talented he is worth 2 or 3 fumbles a game. Second effort, you never let the first guy take you down. You keep moving forward. Keep going forward. Get that extra yard. And toughness, run the ball like the great Chicago Bear, Walter Payton, whose motto was die hard. In other words, when they got you cornered and you're going down, take a couple of them with you. Tom Kelleher was a great running back. In his senior year, he carried the ball almost 30 times a game and never lost a fumble. Second effort, he could take his torso, I've never seen the likes of it, take his torso, put it parallel to the ground, and drive his legs just like pistons, forward, always forward, never stop. Scratch out that next yard, that next foot, that next inch. And toughness, he gained over 1,300 yards, and none of them were easy. There was no razzle-dazzle or flitting here or flitting there. It was always right up the gut, right at the heart of the enemy. In the first period, the defense would line up and say, bring it on. By the 4th period, they'd be reluctant to get into their stance and say, oh no, not again. Tom's a winner. Now, I don't think I'm intelligent enough to explain exactly what constitutes a winner, but I do know that I've probably been sharp enough, or at least lucky enough over the years, to be able to spot a few. I know a winner has pride and dedication. A winner is going to do everything they can to make themselves better every day and to make their team better. A winner cares about his team, cares about his teammates, cares about his school, cares about his community. Tom Kelleher is a winner. He's a winner in the playing field. He was a winner in the classroom. He's a winner in the game of life. Now, I'm not up here telling you that Tom Kelleher is in a class all his own. But I will tell you this, whatever class he's in, it doesn't take long to call the roll. With that in mind, it's my pleasure to present Tom Kelleher for introduction into the Rockville High Athletic Hall of Fame.
Wow. Thanks, Coach. Thank you for those kind words and for being my presenter today. There was no other choice. And the same thing, I said I wouldn't get on the floor, but it's hard. So first, I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees and the committee for organizing this great event. Specifically, Mrs. Coach did a fantastic job organizing this, keeping me on schedule, and putting together wonderful displays of all the old memorabilia, which was just fantastic. The whole experience with the Hall of Fame here has been a great trip down memory lane. You've all given me the opportunity to go back and revisit such a positive and impactful time in my life, and it really gave me a chance to smell the roses a little We often get so focused on the present, what lies ahead. We don't often take the time to go back and appreciate where we came from, how we got there, and where we are today because of it. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to hit the pause button for a little bit, go back and experience and replay all the good things our program did some 30-odd years ago. And this recognition, it's very meaningful for me, and it happened for, I think, 3 main reasons. First, is I had great coaching. I have the utmost respect for the coaching profession, and have been very fortunate in my entire playing career to have been coached by 3 Hall of Fame head coaches. Coach Dunn here at Rockville High School, Coach Mark Duffner at Holy Cross, and Coach Don Shula with the Miami Dolphins. How lucky was I? I hit the lottery with that one. I'm also grateful for other coaches I've had. Coach Joe is here today, Coach Wheelock, Coach Geisler, Coach Allen, and Coach Bradley from Holy Cross, who was one of the first people I met up at Holy Cross when I left Rockville here, and he took me under his wing, and he showed me the way. So these men have all had a profound effect on me, and I'm very grateful for the insight and the wisdom they bestowed on me over the years. And I'm not talking about the X's and the O's, the wins and the losses. I'm talking about the positive impact these men have made on me and the lives of the players they've coached. Coach Dunn and his staff were committed to winning and taught us it was the right way to do things, and it was everything else. Coach taught us discipline, the value of a strong work ethic, how to deal with adversity, and most importantly, how to compete. These are the skills that have prepared us to go out in the world and be successful. Regardless of the environment, whether it was academic, athletic, or in the workplace, I always felt I had a competitive edge because of what Coach taught me. That was the ability and mindset to never, ever be outworked by anyone, ever. Coach preached this concept as something you could control as an individual, and you could make a significant impact with collectively as a team. We won plenty of games where we weren't the most talented team on the field. However, no team wanted to win more than we did, and no team was more willing to pay the price than us. Coach also taught us to be tough on the field, but to be men of character off of it. Coach instilled his will to win in all of us and prepared us to compete in the world outside of athletics. The lessons I've learned in those critical development years have been the foundation for how I live my life today. Thank you, sir. This induction means a great deal to me because it recognizes the accomplishments of that 1982 football team and the players who were committed to winning and were committed to winning the right way. I'm specifically talking about the guys who made my job easy and made me look good. Big guys up front, like Richie Villeneuve, Jeff Karsis, Howard Colmark, Brian and Kevin Dogwitz. And Brian's here today. Thanks, Dog. Without their unselfish and tenacious play, I would not be here today. Back then, we did not run a sophisticated offense, as Coach alluded to. I can actually only remember 2 plays.
That's all I could remember.
Belly right, belly left. That was it. But we lined up our best 11 guys. The opponent lined up their best 11 guys. And we ran the ball straight down their throats, challenging them to stop us if we could. They knew where we were going, but we didn't care. We liked our chances with the guys we had up front. Thanks to Dog and the guys. And the final reason why this means so much to me is because the whole Rockville experience almost never happened. I did not grow up here in Rockville. I grew up in neighboring Tolland, where we didn't have high school football at the time. We do now, thankfully, but back then we did not. And ever since my dad brought home a number 39 Larry Zonka shirt, which I wore pretty much every day as a kid from 5 on, I realized I wanted to pursue this great game and dreamed of playing in the NFL. My first challenge to getting there was I really needed to see if I could cut it at the high school level. So I developed a plan. I figured I'd have to move to a town that offered football as a high school sport. And once there, I would dedicate myself to being the best high school football player I could be and I would take one step closer to pursuing this dream. With much convincing on my part, my family agreed to move, and we agreed to move here to Rockville, Connecticut. I chose Rockville because of the reputation of the Rockville players as being tough, and the reputation of the school as being a top-notch college prep academic school. My buddy Wayne Martin, who we were just talking about, made a move here a year before and told me stories about how big and tough the kids were, and that did it for me. That really sold me, and I wanted to see how tough I was, and could I cut it at this next level. I quickly found out in the first training camp when Steve Parker, in a contact drill, the old bump drill, where one player's got the ball, the other, you hit, you go back, you hit again, and then you do a form kind of tackle and go off. Well, we never got the second and third bump. Steve hit me so hard, he knocked me off my feet, and I experienced what I believe was my first official concussion. I tell you this story not because, because Steve wasn't a linebacker or a big defensive lineman or anything. He was our quarterback, right? That's how tough we were. When your quarterback's one of the toughest guys going, it only gets better from there. Then my junior year, I suffered a serious back injury, and I was told by the doctors I'd never play again. And the doubts started to creep in, and I began wondering if I'd made the right decision to leave town. I thought my career might be over before it ever got started. And after a couple of 3 and 7 seasons, a bunch of injuries and limited success, I was finally convinced that things were not actually going as planned. Then 1982 arrived. Our seniors decided enough was enough. We were sick of losing. We worked harder than ever. We prepared in the off season, and we decided we'd lay everything on the line and leave the program with no regrets. We really came together as a team and made things happen. We were 8-2 in '82, and at one point led the state in the state rankings. We had a first winning season in quite some time and put Rockville football back on the map. We beat up on South Windsor, East Catholic, New Britain under the lights, and shut out Wyndham on Thanksgiving Day, 36-0 in our last game. I have a tremendous sense of accomplishment for all we achieved in this memorable season. Things didn't go exactly as planned. However, dealing with adversity then only made me stronger and more appreciative of what we finally accomplished. You know, I wasn't going to get philosophical, Coach, but I can't help it. Coach Dunn always said, shoot for the stars. The worst you can do is land on the moon. I've heard that one before. All the time. So I've been shooting for those stars my whole life and feel like I hit one with the induction here into the Hall of Fame. I'm extremely grateful and proud to be a Rockville Ram, and it's been an honor to play for you, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. It occurred to me as I was sitting over there listening that everybody else in town is in the wrong place. They should be here right now. Anyway, our next inductee, Steve Krajewski. Please come on forward with your presenter, Tom Smith. Our next inductee is another person who has devoted himself to the town of Vernon over the years since he first walked through these doors as a freshman in September 1969. Where has the time gone, Steve? His contributions to RHS athletics, you ask? Well, he played 4 years of basketball, 4 years of baseball, was captain during his senior season in both sports. A great athlete who was quick to give credit to his coaches along the way. Ryan Rock, Bob Corlett, Rich Buccino, Dick Lavatory, Don Geisler. And how many people can say they played in the hallowed grounds of Fenway Park as a high school all-star and was complimented for his play by Frank Malzone? And how many players can say they got game-winning hits in a tournament game? Well, Steve can say all that. And how about, as he was about to graduate from RHS, being named the Journal Inquirer and Rockville High School's Athlete of the Year. I mentioned serving Vernon. Please note that he worked for the Parks and Rec Department 37 years. And please, as you leave, see the note from Mark Warner, former Senator and Governor of Virginia, which is next to Steve's display in the lobby. He resides here in town with his wife, Danielle, his two daughters, Megan and Taylor. To present Steve this afternoon is a baseball teammate who traveled all the way from South Carolina to be here for this induction. In 1974, graduate of RHS, please welcome Tom Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Also, Mr. Smith, thank you. Congratulations to all the new inductees this year. I'm very privileged and honored to be here. First of all, because Mr. Berger has been inducted in this Hall of Fame. This man did tremendous things for us as young athletes in town. When the gym needed to be opened, it was opened. When you needed to have the fields lined, it was lined. It kind of helped that we were friendly with the family. The nice thing about it that Mr. Berger created a system and created a feeder program for us as young athletes to be successful here at Rockville High School. I am delighted that today is Steve's day. I'm very, very happy for his mom, his sister Phyllis, sister Jane, wife Danielle, daughters Taylor and Megan. I'm going to tell you something right now. Taylor and Megan, your dad was one heck of a player. But the story starts here. If you go down to West Street, there's a small little Catholic school called St. Joseph's School. Stephen went there. He proceeded from St. Joe's and came to, as we now know it, Sykes, and he also came and followed his path here to Loveland Mill. He was a very, very competitive guy. He got to the point where it was, Smitty, let's go take batting practice. Smitty, let's go shoot. Smitty, let's go do this. Let's go do that. I would probably tell you that Stephen and I no longer have an arm because I throw so many pitches to Stephen during his collegiate career. Now, Stephen graduated from Eastern Connecticut with a Bachelor's of Science degree. During that time, I know teammate Billy Hickey is here. I would guess that they played 60 to 80 games a year. So that's that's a commitment as an athlete and a commitment as a student. Being successful on the athletic field brings you success in the world of business. Stephen has returned to his town and has become a townie. For the last 37 years, Stephen has been a member of the Vernon Parks and Recs Department. He's done wonderful things. He's been, actually, the way I look at an extension of Mr. Berger. He created programs, he created systems that allowed young students, young athletes to prosper. I walked in with Steve the other night, and I went over and we watched co-ed softball. I said, Steve, why am I here? He said, I just wanted to see what kind of program I put in. It's wonderful. One thing that I would really like everyone to understand, back in 1972, 73, and 74, we were pretty good in baseball. We were actually very good. We were very fortunate. We were coached by Lenny Rock. Coach Rock was just the right man, and we were very fortunate to be there at the right time. Mr. Rock laid down principles. He showed us how to be respectful of people, and he showed us how to play the game of baseball. Stephen, in turn, took that guidance that Coach Rock gave him and turned it into a very successful career at Eastern Connecticut State College. When he finished there, he went to the Greater Hartford Twilight League, and he played there. He and I were teammates there for 17 years. And I'll mention this because I wanted to get it in. During that time, the Greater Hartford Twilight League was the second summer league that you could play in New England. The only one better was the Cape Cod League. And we had great teams. We had wonderful teams. Last year's inductee, Joey Kalachi, Stephen. We had Doobie Putz played on our team. We had Billy Hickey, Ron Pizzanello. These are guys that were quality baseball players and quality men. Every day and every time we played at home up at McCoy, as a known McCoy Field, if you've been to a baseball game at Rockville High, at Henry Park, you would know there's a little bank. And I would always call it the Board of Governors. And on that Board of Governors stood Steve's dad, Mr. Kraski, Alan Putz's dad, George Putz, Mr. Berger, Mr. Milanese, Uncle Bob Berger, who was also our baseball coach for the Legion, and on occasion Mr. Palachi, and sometimes Mr. McCoy when he had time. It was a great time to be a Rockville athlete. It was a great time to be a Rockville baseball player. When we went to Bloomfield, they knew they were going to have a game. When we went to Glastonbury, if 10-run rule was available at that time, we 10-ruled them all the time. We were very, very fortunate. We were very, very good. At the conclusion of Stephen's playing years, he was inducted into Hall of Fame. His Hall of Fame induction ceremony at Eastern Connecticut State College, where he set many batting records, holds some, he set fielding records, and I was talking to the guys about Gold Glove Award. I think maybe Silver Slugger, but no Gold Glove Award. The guys that play with us will understand that. He was inducted into the, my glasses on, I'm sorry. He was inducted into the Greater Hartford Twilight League Hall of Fame several years ago, where he created a wonderful legacy for many guys here in the Vernon Township to admire. The cycle has ended. He's now home, and he's getting what he deserves. He's been inducted into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame, and I couldn't be any prouder. I would like to read one statement that was written about Stephen. I have watched hundreds of high school athletes each year. This was by Randy Smith from the Journal-Enquirer, and many times do not like what I see. I see tantrums, showboating, disrespect, poor discipline, and lackluster attitudes. Then I watch Krajewski. It's somewhat suicidal to make a personal confession in print, but allow me to say I root for Steve Krajewski. I have rooted for Steve Krajewski all my life, and it's now my pleasure to present him for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was great. First of all, I'd like to say it's such an honor to be here accepting this prestigious award. I'd like to thank the committee for their hard work, time, and dedication with the selection process. Oops. I'd like to thank my family, my friends, teammates, coaches, and all of you that have come to share in this special day with all of us. Congrats to all the other Hall of Famers that are getting inducted today. Rockville High School has such a tradition of history, athletic-wise. The Alan Putzes, the Joe Vans, Jim Martellos, Joe Colacci's. I mean, I could go on. And out in the lobby, seeing all the former athletes and friends of mine, how outstanding they were. Rockville High School has such a rich history of athletics. And I'm just so proud to be part of that and was able to put the uniform on and represent Rockville High School. This class, as I said, is very impressive. And I do have to mention a couple of people. Don Berger, which I worked for 9 years. As was stated, he set up a lot of different programs for the youth of Vernon, and we continue to do the same things, following in your footsteps. So, congratulations, Don. Good job, well done. The other person that just totally amazes me is Kim Jackal Nadeau, and there's a story behind this. Scoring 1,504 points. I mean, that is so awesome. I remember talking to her mom at a game. And of course, I have 2 young girls that were coming up through the ranks, my daughter Megan and my daughter Taylor. And I told Peggy Jackal, I says, Peggy, I says, my daughter's going to shatter Kim's record, okay? And, well, needless to say, the record is intact. It will not be broken. But one record that I think that my daughter Taylor has taken away from Kim was she has the all-time leading points scored in the game. She lit up Hartford Public for 40 this past year. So, but it's great. I talked to my daughter regarding Kim Jackal and what kind of competitor she was and what kind of history Rockville has. The teams that I played on, the players were awesome. I mean, they were intense. They put in countless hours of practice. Our coaching staff, it was great. I mean, I'd like to go and talk about our basketball coaching staff. When I was a freshman, we ended up going to Sykes. All the freshmen went to Sykes. And there, Butch Bucino was our freshman basketball coach. And Mr. Coach Bucino taught us to have fun and respect. Then I came up and Coach Lavatory and Coach Don Geisler were our JV coaches. Now, Rich Lavatory taught economics and Don Geisler taught chemistry. I had them both in classes. And I do have to make a public apology to both of them because Steve Chuck, which was co-captain, and I would, after practice every day, play them 2-on-2. And needless to say, there was a role reversal. We became the teachers, and they were the students. We took them to school. So I do apologize. I know Coach Lav is out there, and I heard some nickname Silk. I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Then there was Coach Bob Corlett, and I know that there's a lot of basketball players here that played under Coach Corlett. We were well prepared for our opponent. And there was nobody that was going to be in better condition than us. And I admired the way he coached, and I kind of modeled the way I coach, you know, in the youth leagues, you know, following his blueprint. Another very important person is Coach Lenny Rock, baseball coach from, I believe, 71 to, I'm not sure when, 77, 78. But Coach Rock commanded respect. He had a quiet, laid-back attitude, and players just wanted to play for him and win for him. And, you know, Coach Rock spent some extra time with me, you know, being a young, cocky kid, overconfident, definitely offensive-minded. And I do take exception to that gold glove. I could show it to you. But talking about that gold glove, when I did poorly offensively, it showed out on the field. I took my at-bats out onto the field. And Coach Rock, my whole senior year, I was the last batter to take bat practice for the whole season. You know, I was taking grounder after grounder after grounder. So, you know, Coach Rock basically taught me a little bit more than just the basic physical part of the game, but a lot about the mental part of the game. And I do appreciate his guidance, and I'm so glad he's here today. A special thank you goes to Randy Smith and Phil Shardas. Back in the 70s, when there were stories done on games, I mean, you got a story. You knew, if you weren't at the game, you knew exactly what was going on. And unlike today where, you know, you're given maybe 3 sentences, give me 2 names. But Randy Smith, you know, they covered a lot of the different towns, but Rockville was in their hearts, and they just did us unbelievable. Great articles, and Mr. Smith was very kind to me, and I appreciate everything that he has done for me, and along with you, Phil, I appreciate your time. As I mentioned, I'd like to thank my family. I already talked a little bit about my 2 daughters. Megan graduated from Rockville in 2013, and Taylor's going into her senior year. My sister Phyllis, which is here, and my sister Jane, which is unfortunately in Florida, unable to attend. I want to thank them for putting up with their little brother. You know, at the kitchen table is always, they took second fiddle. It was always sports, sports, sports. So, you know, I appreciate your support over the course of the years. Then there's my mom. She's the unsung hero. She kept the calmness in the house. She always took us for rides for practice and ball games. Steaks before every hoop game. Cut out one heck of all my press releases or press articles, you know, from the Journal, from Little League up to Hartford Twilight League. And I appreciate everything that you've done for me, Mom, so thank you so much. There's 2 very important people that aren't here today to share in this day, and one of them is my wife. She had a little mishap and broke her hip and on Labor Day, so she was physically unable to be here. I know she would be here if she could. The other one is my dad. My dad died a number of years ago, and he spent countless hours playing catch, pitching me bat practice, trying to make me a switch hitter. Didn't materialize. But maybe batting machines and batting cages did everything. I owe everything that I am today to him. He also taught me about work ethic. Things don't come easy. You have to work hard, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's at work or at sports. And most of the athletes and coaches here have put in a lot of time and effort and hard work. And they always emphasize team. All right? The harder you work, the better you'll do, the better the team will do. So I try to instill that in a lot of my teammates. And I tell you, I had the greatest teammates in basketball and in baseball. I really appreciate it. In closing, in the 70s, we used to have a victory bell that after every game that we won, no matter what sport it was, that bell would be rung. So the whole town would be able to hear that bell ringing, so they would know, okay, football, they just won, that's great. But I know that victory bell would be ringing today if, it would definitely be ringing today for all of us. So again, thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very much, Tom. Very nicely done. Our next inductee is going to be represented by his son, John Russo III, and the presenter will be Robert L.P. Wayne-Gardner. So, gentlemen, please approach the stage. Thank you. One of the benefits of establishing a Hall of Fame is the research that results in the rediscovery of achievements that were done many years ago, and thus justice is served. Very fine performances and seasons are brought to light, and athletes who at the time set standards for us who followed are recognized and given the credit they earned so many years ago. Such is the case for our next inductee who graduated from RHS in 1949, John J. Lusa Jr. A four-sport athlete, soccer, football, basketball, and baseball. He started as a soccer player, then turned to football, but also played basketball and baseball. He still holds the record for most points scored in a single basketball game, 46. And on the diamond, he was a reliable and consistent pitcher for RHS. Upon graduation, his classmates voted him 2 titles, class athlete and most popular. And today, we recognize an athlete from another era whose exploits will now be enshrined forever here. Accepting for him is his son, John Lusa, III, and I'd like to introduce a close friend and teammate of his from the football team from the late 40s. We are pleased to welcome lefty Weingartner.
Thank you very much. John Lusa and I have been friends for many, many years, since our high school days in the 40s, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure today to award this award to John. John Lusa played all of the sports, and he was an outstanding athlete. He had a number of physical abutes that helped him along the way. He was big, he was fast, he was strong, he had great hands, and most of all, he had outstanding desire. People say that perhaps his best sport was basketball, whereas you just mentioned John scored 48 points one day, and he seemed to do it easy. He was a great shooter. We played our tournament games at Yale and Payne Whitney, and John scored a lot of points there. We didn't keep statistics like they do today, but I think if we did, John would have averaged 20 to 25 a game, and about 10 rebounds to go along with it. He was a ferocious rebounder. Whenever a ball came off the rim or off the backboard, John said, "That's my ball and I'm going after it," and he got it. Now, baseball, John was an outstanding pitcher. Against Windsor one day, he struck out 18 batters, which I think has to be the record for Rockville. It probably still is a record after 65 years. I recall a day against Bolton. John played the outfield that day, and he had 2 triples and a home run. I would think that's a pretty good day. Like I said, John played all the sports. He played football when he was a senior, and he was outstanding at it. He was an end, both offensive and defensive, and he did just a great job. As I said, it gives me a lot of pleasure to present the Hall of Fame inductee into the Rockville Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame, for John.
Thanks, Lefty, for saying that. These kind of words about my dad. I mean, it's going to be tough. I want to first congratulate all the other inductees today. Growing up, my dad never really talked about his athletic accomplishments. I knew he played basketball and scored 46 points. That's all he talked about. It wasn't until later on in life that I learned about his baseball abilities. I couldn't believe it when Lefty and Coach Geisler told me he was a better baseball player than basketball player. Speaking of Coach Geisler, he called my dad the best athlete he ever coached. Not only was he a mentor to my dad, but a great friend and a father figure. Now I know my dad must have been real good in baseball because he was a hell of a basketball player. I know this because growing up, he was a gym supervisor in East Hartford for many years, where he taught the kids to play basketball from Pee Wee League to the high school league. We would play 5-on-5. He would pick his 5, go against my 5. He was 41 years old at the time. We played in khaki pants, white t-shirt, and the old Chuck Taylors. You can guess regarding who I had to cover. Let me tell you something. I played against some great ball players on my left. John Purnell, Jeff Carr, Jim Abramaitis, and Tony Hansen. Nothing compared to playing against my dad. He was one tough SOB. You know, since my dad died in 2005, his legacy goes well beyond any court or playing field. No matter where I go, I run into people who knew my dad. Both friends and acquaintances who both liked him, respected him, and admired him. In closing, as a son, if I could be half the man my dad was, it would be my greatest accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John and Bob. Our next inductee, Joe Van Oudenhove, will be presented by Jim Martello. So, gentlemen, please come on the stage. Accepting for Joe is his brother Jesse Van Oudenhove. Our next inductee reminds us that schools go through eras of excellence, and he helped lead RHS to that exalted level in the mid-60s. So at an even 6 feet tall, he walks into Rockville High School in the fall of 1961, having just played on the St. Bernard CYO basketball team that won the New England Championship. Not many of us know that. And he was determined to continue that success at the high school level. How about senior co-captain in basketball? How about 2 CVC basketball championships? And he continued his excellence and leadership right through the spring seasons. How about 2 CVC baseball championships? But what's great to recall today is Joe playing alongside 2 first-class Hall of Famers, Jim Martello and Alan Putz, during the winter and spring seasons. So many outstanding moments in Joe's career here. He left RHS at 6'4" and 200 pounds, and with today's induction, he is reunited with those 2 teammates. Truly a great moment now. So I'd like to reintroduce Jim Martello, who will present Joe as the inductee, and accepting for Joe is his brother, Jesse.
Joe Van and I have been friends for close to 55 years. We were first teammates at St. Bernard's. As David mentioned, we were fortunate enough to win the New England CYO Championship that year in 1961. Then at RHS. After college, Joe and I were still around Vernon, and of course we reconnected. We've been playing frequent poker together and occasional golf ever since. As much as Joe came to love sports, and still does, he's even more committed to his children and grandchildren. This ceremony today coincides with a family commitment of Joe's that he honors every year in Ohio with his daughter Stacy's family. The following is a letter Joe asked me to read at this ceremony. I am so sorry I will not be able to attend the induction ceremony for the second class of inductees to the RHS Athletic Hall of Fame because of family commitments. I want to thank the members of the committee for their outstanding dedication and hard work that makes this event possible. I am proud to be included among the people selected in the first 2 classes of the RHS Athletic Hall of Fame. I was fortunate to play for some of Rockville High School's most successful teams from 1961 to 1965. While attending RHS and participating in the sports programs, I was lucky enough to have coaches that instilled a strong work ethic and sense of pride and confidence that helped us succeed and which would serve us well as adults. Many former student athletes are woven into the rich history of Rockville High School athletics. People like Don Berger, John Canterbury, Ron Kozik, Jim Martello, Art Wheelock, and Steve Krajewski were not only outstanding athletes in their own right, but went on to become coaches and administrators who shaped the lives of future RHS Hall of Famers. But more importantly, outstanding people who will succeed in life. There are so many people to thank, in particular, Bibi Melanese and John Daigle, who were instrumental in encouraging me in the first years I played organized sports. Most importantly, I would like to thank all my coaches and teammates. Without their help and friendship, this honor would never have been possible. Sincerely, Joseph Van Oudenhoven. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to present Joe's brother Jesse the plaque for induction of Joseph Van Oudenhoven into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
I'm really sorry Joe couldn't be here today. He really deserves this. It would be a great moment for him to be able to bask in this spotlight. He certainly had the career to exemplify that. I'd like to offer our family's thanks to the Rockville High School Hall of Fame Committee for selecting Joe for this honor. I would like to offer my sincere congratulations to the other Hall of Fame inductees being honored in this, the second annual Hall of Fame event. Special thanks to Jim Martello for presenting and telling Joe's story. Jim has always been Joe's close friend and confidant for as long as I can remember. Not only during those glory years as teammates, but especially during those difficult times in Joe's life when true friendship became priceless. So Jim, thank you very much. So on behalf of my brother Joe Van Oudenhoven, it is with great pride and honor that I graciously accept this plaque that commemorates his induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you again, Jim. Our next inductee, Art Wheelock, will be presented today by his two grown children. So Art, Nick, Andrea, please come on down. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like there is nothing that is not impressive about the career of our next inductee. Anyone would be at a loss to know where to begin a summary of his contributions to RHS athletics. Counting his days as a student at RHS, he's had a presence on Loveland Hill for 50 years. He served as assistant coach on the staffs of 4 programs. Teams with him on the sidelines or in the dugout won 22 conference titles and 2 Class L championships. In baseball, 433 wins, 10 conference championships. And who could ever forget the Bizarro bounce? Unforgettable. For those of us who were there. As an assistant to Tom Dunn in football, he helped to establish one of the finest work ethics of any program here ever. 6 CCC East titles, state championship in 1990. Awards, about the 2003 ABCA Regional Coach of the Year. And there's the 2006 Connecticut High School Coaches Association Coach of the Year. And don't forget he was a finalist in the National Coach of the Year Award in 2012. I could go on. I'm not tired. This never gets old, but the time has come. So, Nick, Andrea, present your dad.
A little nervous. I don't like being last, but with the last name starting with a W, I don't know why I'm not used to it. I wasn't a pitcher, catcher, right fielder, or even a coach. I was a manager. And on that afternoon in 2000, I too became a state champion. To this day, we reminisce about that magical bounce the ball took over the second baseman's head. See, no matter what grade level, position, or athletic ability, my father had a way of making everyone feel as if they played an important role to the functioning of the team. He has not only impacted lives on the field, but off the field as well, which was made very clear to me when I reached out to ex-players and managers online. I received numerous messages regarding coaches' philosophies, such as next pitch, which may have initially been a term coined for a strikeout, wild pitch, or game lost. But over the years, my father turned these 2 little words into a life lesson. Don't dwell on what just happened, learn from it, and move on. You always have tomorrow. I also received an overwhelming amount of stories summarizing the most memorable moments had with my father. And one story in particular truly sums up why my father is so deserving of this honor. And I'd like to share that with you. Hopefully I tell the story correctly. This came from a player who, the memory that he's telling me about, he was a sophomore at the time on the varsity baseball team. And they had a home state tournament game at Henry Park, I think against Fitch. It was the bottom of the seventh. He hadn't been in the game yet. They were down a few runs. There were a runner on first and second, and the senior co-captain was coming up to bat. Well, my father called the senior co-captain over from third baseline and told him to go back to the bench and called this player up to bat, who I guess was a nervous wreck, and then proceeded to strike out. The game was lost and the season was over. This obviously, memory ended in failure, but because of that, my father's decision, it totally changed this player's life and gave him a confidence boost that turned him into the person that he is today. It not only changed his outlook on his athletic progress going forward, but his personal growth and development for the rest of his life. So just for those things, Dad, you deserve this.
I have a few more things to add to this. I did play baseball for my father. I have coached with my father, and obviously lived in the same house for a very long time together, so I have a few inside facts I'd like to share with everybody. I promised I'd take it easy on him, but I also had him in my dugout this past summer, so this is a little bit of payback for what I did with him. So, I'd first like to talk about Coach Smith talked about all my father's awards and his record, but to him, this doesn't mean anything. The record never meant anything. It's showing up to the field. It's the walk to the field before practice. It's the effort he sees the kids put in every single day and reacting to his philosophies, because he's a little bit of a modern day philosopher. As my sister spoke about, there's next pitch. Let's move on. Don't dwell on things. Life is too short. Also, be on time and do the right thing. Every single person that's played baseball at Rockville High School for my father has heard those words come from him. And not only have they heard them, but they've lived by them. I had a conversation with my father a couple of weeks ago. I was having, just had a rough day. And he brought out another thing to me. He's like, were you on time? Yeah, I was on time for work. Did you do your best? Yeah, I did my best. So move on. Tomorrow's another day. And those are very simple words, but that's something that, like I said, any player, football player, baseball player, girls basketball player that ever played for my dad lives by and helps us through the tough times. That's why right now, I'd really like to congratulate Dad. All these years that you put into Rockville High School, into the community. Your volunteer awards, which I know that are very important to you. Creating with my mother, Pee Wee Baseball, is another great accomplishment. But I can tell you right now, the reason why you're standing on the stage is because you always were on time and you always did the right thing. My sister has one more thing she'd like to read.
Hopefully I read this correctly. This is a card that my father received when he first began coaching. And later on, another season with another team, read to them at a banquet. I think they maybe lost a state tournament game. But it really means a lot towards you, I guess, from us. Special is a word that is used to describe something one of a kind, like a hug or a sunset, or a person who spreads love with a smile or kind gesture. Special describes people who act from the heart and keep in mind the hearts of others. Special applies to something that is admired and precious and which can never be replaced. Special is the word that best describes you.
It is now my pleasure to present Arthur Lawrence Wheelock Jr. for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Ooh. I love those two. Getting tired? Anybody have to go to the bathroom? Too bad. You let Don Berger talk as long as I do. I'm going to talk as long as I want. I want to first of all thank the committee for selecting me, especially Scott Smith. He's been like a son to me. Ever since I threw him in to be a catcher against West Haven in the tournament game, the first time he caught a varsity game. Of course, we lost 19-0. And there was a couple windows broken across the street from the West Haven hitters. But, you know, he did a good job, Scott. You have to learn sometime. I want to congratulate the other inductees, certainly so deserving. And this is so overwhelming to me. It really makes me feel humble, and it's like this is what you do when you get awarded for it. But it's not just me. This award isn't for Art Wheelock. This is for all the people that have come in contact with the programs around here. And it's going to be impossible to name all the people in my life that I need to thank. And I'm going to do the best I can. It's hard to believe that September of 1964, I first set foot into the halls of Rockville High School, and I've been here ever since. My parents taught me what a good work ethic was. My father, a truck driver, my mother worked at Pratt & Whitney, and they were constantly working to put food in the mouths of 7 boys and girls. They got me involved in sports at a young age to hopefully, I grew up in sort of downtown Rockville, so they wanted to keep me out of trouble. And I'll tell you what, the more people upset when I played, when our team I was on played, because there wouldn't be any room in the stands, because all my brothers and sisters and their spouses and kids would go to all the games. And, come on, Junior, let's go. They used to call me Junior. Then we finally got Mr. Berger to put more bleachers in. I was very fortunate to be part of the resurrection of football in the town of Vernon. First, I played on the first midget football team, the Vernon Pioneers. And the second year, and this still, to me, is incredible, we went undefeated and unscored on. Then I came up here, and that's certainly when we first started out. So those weren't the results, but I'll tell you what, I was proud to be on that first winning football team here at Rockville High School. We finished with 5 straight wins. I was drawn into coaching because of the great coaches I had here at Rockville High School, probably the greatest coaches that have ever been here. It's very difficult. First of all, they were all teachers. Very difficult these days to get teachers to go out and coach for whatever reason, I don't know, because it's all I ever wanted to do. But I want to thank, Jerry Fitzgerald, Pat Mastretta, Mike Simmons, Ron Conware, Ron Kozak, John Canterbury, who's also in the Hall of Fame. I mean, these are people that just turned me right on to teaching and coaching, and I certainly appreciate that and owe everything to you people. I've been very fortunate through the years to have coached with people who will be friends of mine for life. Tom Dunn, excuse me, taught me a lot about coaching, not just coaching, but life itself. Joe Wilczynski, Dennis Blowers, Charles Russell, Pat Cox, Jim Martello, just to name a few, just fantastic people. Always a friend of mine, Bill Holloway, as most of you know, was the head coach at Eastern Connecticut State University, said, you surround yourself with good people and good things are going to happen. And I was fortunate to be able to do that. My parents, who I wish were here because they would be so proud, always preached to give back to the community.
I was given so many opportunities. You need to give those back to your community. Probably one of the best accomplishments I believe that I ever did here, again, was with my wife when we started Pee Wee baseball when my son was like 5 or 6 years old. And we were recognized nationally as a program, as an example for a program. And it still goes on. And that's my way, because I suggested quite strongly that all my players give up an hour or two on a Saturday morning to be with these kids. And if you ever have a chance to see that program working, you'll be amazed at the great kids that we actually have in this town. I have a couple of memorable moments as a player and a coach. First of all, it's against Southington. I scored a touchdown. And Jim Hennessy, a teammate of mine, a good friend of mine, put it best this way. Martello drops back, hits Wheelock with a short pass. He's at the 35. He's at the 30. He's at the 25. He goes on, and I tell you what, I'll never forget that. Thanks, Jim. I slept with that football that night. Okay, obviously, the state championship in football was just unbelievable. I mean, thousands of people there. You win the game, and the kids rush the field. I could have got in trouble at it. I mean, I had even girls jumping on me, giving me hugs and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa, let's win some more championships. This is all right. I remember hugging Coach Dunn out on the field. We just didn't want to let go of each other. It was just so fantastic. Come back to town, there's fire engines going and everything. Just, there's absolutely nothing like it. One of the most important losses I've ever had as a coach was losing in the state championship game in 1981. I'm sorry, Chris. I got to bring this up. It's Coach Martello's fault anyway. He didn't have you playing deep enough. That was his job. I'm kidding. We had the lead. Back then we played 9 innings. It's the bottom of the 9th inning. Bring in this pitcher. They scored a couple runs. Brought in this pitcher. It was a transfer from East Catholic, Wayne Bray. First guy, 1, 2, 3, he's out. Second guy, 1, 2, 3, he's out. Third guy, 1, 2. Third one, I swear to God, was a strike, but I wasn't behind the play calling. Kid stole home. They tied the score. We ended up losing in 13 innings. Probably described by Sherman Kane in the Journal Enquirer as one of the best high school baseball games that he's ever seen. Just too bad we came on. I still have nightmares, Chris, you know that. Ram, you still out there? I could see those big teeth coming around third base. You hit a home run, dude. Those pearly whites were shining. That was great. I'll never forget it. Never forget. And of course, in 2000, we won the state championship in baseball. It was so special to me for a couple different reasons. First of all, my family, we were all there involved. My son Nick was coaching with me after fighting the effects of chemotherapy from cancer. My daughter, Andrea, was there as a manager, one of the best that I've ever had, next to Weston. Weston was the best one, but you were right there. I don't mean to skip over. Weston was a manager I had, went to school at Johnson, Wales, and Providence, came back after he graduated from here for every game to keep my scorebook. Unbelievable. He called me the other day. I'm like, Weston, you're crazy, dude. My wife was there, as she always has been. My longtime assistant coach, who I just absolutely adored, Lou Bizzano Jr., had passed away that spring from the effects of Hodgkin's disease after fighting it for years and years. The thing that was so special about this, we called it, there was an angel in the infield. Score was tied, the bottom of the 7th inning, the last inning. Had a runner at second base. I forget how he got there. I know who it was, but I forget. But yeah, he was on second base. There's 2 outs. This kid who, first of all, was a substitute in the lineup because my starter had injured himself and was out. Hits a ground ball towards second base. All of a sudden, the ball bounces up over the second baseman's head. I about threw my shoulder out. And I was waving, you're going. I don't care if that ball's sitting on the pitcher's mound, you're going. So he went, he scored, we won the state championship. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Sweet Lou. And thank you very much. Not many people get to state championship games, and I'm not taking credit for that. What I'm saying is I was fortunate to experience like 7 of them, 7 finals. And it's just, what a feeling. I can't thank people of Vernon enough. I often get asked the question, who's the best coach you worked with? Some would say Coach Dunn, and I say, Coach Dunn's a good friend, taught me a lot, but no. My son Nick, he'd definitely tell you he's the best one. I don't know jack about baseball. It's him. Well, Nick, no. I have now this guy who's still wet behind his ears, Greg Karen, who definitely thinks he's the best, but asked me, Coach, I'm the best, you know that. I go, yeah, Greg, you're right, no. Fortunately for me, the best coach I have had, I've been fortunate enough to live with for 40 years. It's my best friend, lover, confidant, mentor, keeper in liner. Not afraid to tell me like it is. And without her by my side, I never would have been able to accomplish any of this. And I know we hear this a lot about saying how much I love you and thank you. I cannot possibly thank you enough. And I certainly couldn't love you anymore. Thank you very much. Thank you. I know. You all right, Don? You good? You getting hungry? At your age, you got to eat several meals a day, you know. Like I said before, I had some great players. I wish it was poker, but you're only as good as the cards you're dealt. And if this were the game of poker, man, I'd be walking around with the biggest smile on my face and pockets full of money. Because I had some good cards, man. Real good cards. And not just good players, but good people. And to me, that's the most important thing. I was at a convention, a national convention in San Antonio. I was fortunate to serve on the National Rules Committee for the American Baseball Coaches Association. I ran into Tommy Lasorda, a long-time great manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and just a fantastic guy. Tommy used to say this, or said this, when I die, and they bleed me, they take my blood, I'm going to bleed Dodger blue. But you know what? When I'm gone, and they bleed me, I'm going to bleed Rockville blue and gold. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been an awesome audience, and we appreciate your patience. But we have a number of people to thank, so please hold your applause. We want to remind you about our committee can always use help. There are information sheets, nomination forms out in the lobby. We ask you to support the athletic teams here at Rockville. Consider getting involved. The Unified Booster Club, and for more information, you can go to the RHS website about that. The committee would like to thank the following individuals for their support. Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mary Conway, Chairman of the Board of Education, Annie Fisher, of course, Principal Andy Rocket, the AD, Dr. Lois Purcell, and the Director of Public Works, Bob Kleinhans, the RHS custodial staff for their assistance throughout the year, and the VOAG department for their help with our boutonnieres and our corsages. The plaques were made by Dan's Awards of Willimantic. committee wants to extend a special thanks to Jim Martello for all his work on the plaques, posters, and for presenting this afternoon a couple of times. Just outside the gym, ladies and gentlemen, the plaques for last year's inductees are in place. Fantastic. You know, on the opposite wall from where the plaques are is this logo, and that was all done by Nick Fitzner. So to Nick, we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude for hanging our wall plaques. Sierra Buckley, the young lady junior here at Rockville High School, provided the music during the social this afternoon. The Vernon Police Explorers for their help with parking supervision and internal supervision. And a large round of applause for RHS, and I want to slow down here, make sure you do this. A large round of applause for Athletic Hall of Fame Information Director, Bob Malta. I can't see anything. Bob, where are you? What he does and what he did, and he doesn't seek any recognition for it, beyond comprehension. Bob, thank you very much from all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Congratulations to all the inductees. And our next induction date will be in the media. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and good afternoon.